So today, we're not going to talk about what you need to do to get rich. Now, we're flipping the script. We are breaking down a blueprint for success based on the 7 things you absolutely must avoid. It's a pretty powerful shift in how you think, and it can change everything. All right, let's get into it.
You know, this single piece of advice, it came from a mentor, and it completely changed the life of a guy who went from having 0 qualifications, no money, to becoming a multimillionaire. And it all came down to avoiding a few specific traps. So the question is, what are they?
All right, here's what we've got lined up. We're going to start with the core blueprint. Then we'll dive into the biggest mistakes people make with their careers and their cash. After that, we're going to get into the head stuff, the mindset traps that can kill your success from the inside. And we'll finish up by talking about the one thing that keeps most people stuck forever. So the main idea here is actually really simple, but it's also incredibly profound. See, building real, lasting wealth isn't just about chasing the next big thing. It's about systematically cutting out the behaviors that pretty much guarantee you'll stay broke. These 7 wealth killers, they're the roadblocks we need to get out of the way. Okay, let's jump into the first 2 killers. Now, these are external. They're all about the choices you make with your job and, how you spend your money. And trust me, getting these wrong can set you back for years, even decades. So, the very first wealth killer is working only for money. Now, look at this slide, because the contrast is everything. Path A, it looks awesome at first, right? High salary right away. But that path, it almost always flattens out. Then you have Path B. This is the tough road. It's lower pay, probably more of a struggle at the start, but its entire focus is on long-term growth. And that leads to an earning potential that just blows Path A out of the water. So what is it that makes Path B so darn powerful? Well, it comes down to 2 things above all else: skills and equity. Every single self-made millionaire gets this. Skills make you invaluable. They make you your own greatest asset. And equity, that just means you own a piece of the pie, so you benefit from the value you're creating, not just a paycheck.
Think about it like this. The guy whose story we're following turned down higher-paying jobs when he was just 16 to become a carpenter's apprentice. Yeah, the pay was awful, but the skills he learned were priceless. Today, those high-demand skills are things like copywriting, video editing, or coding. If you can master a valuable skill, you become your own greatest asset.
And this leads us right into the second huge trap: buying a luxury lifestyle before you can actually afford it. You've seen it all over social media, right? The Lambos in Dubai, the $500 steaks, but it's just an illusion of success. In reality, it's a house of cards, often built on credit card debt, all designed to impress people you don't even know.
The reality for most people is just a world away from that fantasy, and this number just hits it home. A staggering 37% of Americans can't even afford an unexpected $400 expense. Let that sink in. $400. That's the truth behind all the social media flexing.
And it's not just emergencies. I mean, look at this. 60% of households can't afford a new car. The point is, and this is so important, you cannot live like a king and build wealth at the same time. One of them has to come before the other. So here's the mental shift you have to make. Stop buying liabilities, things that lose value the second you buy them, like that flashy car. Instead, you pour your money into assets, stocks, real estate, crypto, things that grow in value and actually generate income over time. Those assets are what will eventually pay for the luxury lifestyle, but for real.
All right, now for the third wealth killer: trying to do everything yourself. This is such a big one. It's the mistake that keeps so many talented people from ever reaching that next level. You can be the most gifted person in the world, but you will always be outmatched by a coordinated, talented team. Always. And there's no better example of this than the PayPal Mafia. This was a group of tech experts from the early days of PayPal. After they got rich, they didn't just go off on their own. No way. They supported each other, invested in each other's projects, and they went on to found absolute game changers like YouTube, LinkedIn, and SpaceX. That, right there, is the power of collaboration.
Okay, so we've covered the external mistakes. Now we're going a little deeper. These next 3 killers, they're all internal. They're the psychological traps that can completely wreck your progress, no matter how good your strategy is.
So, the 4th wealth killer is having too many inputs. I mean, everyone has an opinion, right? Be an entrepreneur. No, get a stable 9-to-5. Travel the world. Your brain just gets swamped with all these choices and information, and it leads to what's called cognitive overload. You just freeze up, unable to make a decision. And people mistake it for being lazy, but it's not. It's just mental fatigue.
So how do you fight that? Well, there's a clear 3-step strategy.
First, you have to decide on your end destination. Where are you going? Second, work backward from that goal. And third, and this is so critical, you have to aggressively filter your inputs. Cut out all the general noise and listen only to expert advice from people who have actually done what you want to do.
The fifth killer, it's being ego-driven. You know the type? Arrogant people think they already know everything, so they just stop learning. They're victims of the iceberg principle. They see that tiny little tip of what they know, and they completely ignore the massive hidden chunk of what they don't know. Ego is a silent wealth killer because it convinces you you're too smart to listen.
And next up, the sixth killer, passing the blame. Every single day, you get a choice. You can pick up the magnifying glass, which lets you zoom in and focus on everybody else's faults. Or you can pick up the mirror, which forces you to look at the only thing you can actually control, your own actions.
You know, this ancient proverb really says it all. As long as you're blaming the government or your boss or the system, you are just giving away your power. The real journey only begins when you put down that magnifying glass, pick up the mirror, and take total ownership of your life.
Okay, let's move on to our final section, which covers what might be the deadliest killer of them all. Seriously, this is the one that keeps most people trapped in the exact same spot for their entire lives. And here it is, the seventh and final wealth killer, staying static, trapped right inside your comfort zone. The best way to think about it is like a self-imposed prison. Yeah, it feels safe and secure in there, but there are no doors. There's no escape. And more importantly, there is absolutely no room to grow. And you know what? Studies show over half of people are stuck here and don't even realize it.
Breaking out of that prison takes deliberate action. Just look at this personal timeline. At 16, stepping out of traditional school and into an apprenticeship. In his 20s, trying out different side hustles. Then, taking the huge leap of starting a business. And even at 53, expanding again by starting a YouTube channel. See? At every single stage, it was a conscious choice to push the boundaries.
So here's the bottom line. The potential for growth, for learning, and for wealth that exists just outside your current comfort zone, it's literally infinite. It's like this massive, unclaimed territory just waiting for you, but nobody can give it to you. You have to be the one to step out there and claim it.
Which really just leaves us with this one final thought. If that space for your growth is truly endless, the only question that really matters is the one you have to ask yourself. How much of it are you willing to claim?